Sometimes the people you love most are the ones who take advantage of you the worst, and when they finally say what they really think out loud, it shatters everything. My name is Diane, and I'm 68 years old. Before we begin, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your state or country in the comments below. Now let me tell you about the week I dismantled my son's entire world after his wife made one comment too many. For 3 years, I believed I was building a legacy. My son Mark and his wife Ashley had 2 beautiful children, Emma, who's 5, and Lucas, who just turned 3. When Ashley got pregnant with Emma, they were living in a cramped apartment, both working entry-level jobs with mountains of student debt. As a mother, watching your child struggle cuts deeper than any pain you felt yourself. I'd spent 40 years building a successful catering company in Charleston. Started with nothing but a borrowed commercial kitchen and a dream. By the time I was ready to slow down, I had corporate contracts, wedding bookings 2 years out, and a reputation that meant something. I was comfortable, more than comfortable. When Emma arrived, I made a decision. I sold my house, the one my late husband Henry and I had filled with memories, and I moved into the garage apartment behind Mark and Ashley's new place, the place I helped them buy. I told myself it made sense. I could help with the baby, they could save on childcare, and I'd get to watch my grandchildren grow up. But that wasn't all I gave them. 6 months after Emma was born, I sat Mark down and told him about my idea. I'd been watching Ashley struggle to find good catering for corporate events at her company. The industry I knew inside and out was booming in their area. So I proposed starting a new branch of my catering business, something fresh, something that would be theirs. I'd provide the capital, the connections, the recipes, the training, everything. They'd run it, build it, and eventually it would be their security. Mark cried when I told him. He hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "Mom, I don't know what to say. This is incredible." Ashley smiled, but even then, I caught something in her eyes I couldn't quite read. I dismissed it. She was stressed, overwhelmed with a new baby. We all were. I structured the business carefully, put it in their names, but I retained a percentage until they paid back my initial investment. Standard business practice. My lawyer even questioned why I wasn't protecting myself more, but I brushed him off. This was my son, my family. The business took off faster than I'd even projected. Within 18 months, they had steady corporate clients, a small team of servers, and bookings that kept them profitable. I worked alongside them, teaching Ashley everything I knew, watching Mark handle logistics and client relations. During the day, I'd manage their books, plan menus, handle suppliers. Then I'd pick up the kids. From preschool, make dinner, do baths, read bedtime stories. I told myself I was blessed. I had purpose. I had family. I was needed. I had no idea I was just convenient. My typical day started at 5:30 a.m. I'd hear Lucas wake up through the thin walls of my garage apartment, followed by Emma's footsteps padding to her parents' room. By 6, I was in their kitchen, making breakfast while Mark and Ashley got ready for work. Pancakes, eggs, oatmeal, whatever the kids wanted. I packed their lunches with the little notes Emma loved, the ones with smiley faces and hearts. Ashley would come down, hair perfect, makeup done, scrolling through her phone. "Thanks, Diane," she'd say, not looking up. Mark would grab coffee, kiss the kids, and they'd both be gone by 7:15, off to run the business I'd built for them. I'd get Emma to kindergarten by 8, come back to entertain Lucas until his preschool at 9:30. Then I had exactly 4 hours before pickups began again. Those 4 hours I spent working for their business, unpaid. I'd negotiate with suppliers, revise menus, handle the books, manage their social media, respond to client emails. I told myself it was temporary, that once they were fully established, I could step back. But businesses don't run themselves, and Mark and Ashley had discovered something convenient. I was free labor. The afternoons were a blur of snacks, playground visits, activity classes. I paid for Emma's dance lessons. I bought Lucas's preschool supplies. When the kids needed new clothes, I took them shopping. When they were sick, I was the one canceling my own plans to stay home with them. Mark and Ashley would text from client meetings, from networking events, from the office they'd rented with the profits from my recipes and my reputation. "Mom, can you handle bedtime? We have a tasting to oversee." "Diane, we're running late from a consultation. Can you feed the kids?" "Would you mind watching them this weekend? Great opportunity for us to go to this industry conference." I never said no. What kind of grandmother says no? Evenings, I'd hear them through the walls, laughing, watching TV, living their lives while I cleaned up dinner dishes and folded their children's laundry in my tiny apartment. Sometimes Mark would poke his head in. "Thanks for everything today, Mom. You're the best." Then he'd be gone again. Financially, the business was thriving. I'd see the bank statements when I did their books, revenue climbing every quarter. They'd bought new cars, taken vacations, renovated their master bathroom. Meanwhile, I was living in a 400-square-foot apartment with a bathroom so small I could barely turn around, watching my savings slowly deplete from all the extras I covered for the grandchildren. But I justified it all. This was family. This was what grandmothers did. Henry would have done the same if he were alive. We'd always believed in helping our children succeed. I just never expected my help to be invisible. The first real crack appeared on a Tuesday afternoon. I'd spent the morning dealing with a supplier crisis, saving them from losing a major corporate account. I called Mark to tell him I'd fixed it. "Oh, great," he said, distracted. "Hey, can you grab some milk on your way to get Lucas? We're out." No thank you for saving a 5-figure contract. Just a request for milk. I should have seen the pattern then, but love makes you blind to the truth. The disrespect started small, like poison seeping slowly into water. You don't notice until you've been drinking it for months. Ashley stopped saying thank you altogether. I'd arrive at 7 a.m. and she'd hand me a list of errands she needed done. "Could you pick up my dry cleaning? And Lucas needs new shoes. Also, we're out of that organic almond milk I like." Commands, not requests. I was staff. When I tried to discuss business decisions, Ashley would cut me off. "We've got it handled, Diane." But then I'd get frantic calls when something went wrong, expected to drop everything and fix their mistakes. I renegotiated a failed contract they'd mishandled. I personally delivered an order when their delivery driver quit without notice. I stayed up until 2 a.m. redesigning their website after they'd paid someone who did subpar work. Mark started avoiding me. He'd come home, say hi to the kids, and disappear into his office. When I'd try to talk to him about the business or ask about repayment schedules for my investment, he'd say, "Not now, Mom. I'm exhausted." But he wasn't too exhausted to go golfing with clients every Sunday. The grandchildren still brought me joy, but even that was changing. Emma started saying things that made my heart sink. "Mommy says we have to be quiet because Grandma lives here and she'll tell on us." Tell on them? For what? Being children in their own home? I'd never complained about noise, never done anything but love those babies with everything I had. One evening, I needed to leave early for a doctor's appointment. I'd mentioned it 3 times that week. When I reminded Ashley that morning, she rolled her eyes. "Fine, I guess we'll have to figure it out." As if I'd asked for something unreasonable, as if my health was an inconvenience to their schedule. I started noticing how they talked about me to others. I overheard Ashley on the phone with her mother. "Yeah, she's always here. It's actually really helpful. Not she's wonderful with the kids, or we're so grateful. Just helpful. Like I was an appliance." At Emma's dance recital, I sat alone while Mark and Ashley posed for family photos with other parents. When Emma ran to me after her performance, Ashley called out, "Emma, come here, we need pictures." I watched my granddaughter torn between us, and Ashley's expression when Emma hesitated made something inside me crack. The breaking point was building, though I didn't know it yet. I started tracking my hours. Not because I planned to do anything with the information, but because I needed to see if I was crazy. Was I really doing that much? In 1 week, I logged 63 hours of childcare, 18 hours of business work, and another 12 hours of housework and errands for them. 93 hours for a family that barely acknowledged my existence unless they needed something. My sister called from Phoenix. "You sound tired, Di. They taking care of you?" I laughed it off. "Oh, you know, grandchildren keep you young." "Do they appreciate everything you're doing?" I couldn't answer. The silence said everything. "Diane," she said quietly, "you don't have to set yourself on fire to keep them warm." But I wasn't ready to hear it yet. The day my world shattered started like any other Wednesday. I dropped Emma at school, taken Lucas to his music class, and returned to their house to prep vegetables for dinner. Ashley had texted asking me to make her chicken recipe for a client tasting the next day. Free labor again, but I did it anyway. I was chopping onions in the kitchen when I heard Ashley's voice from the home office upstairs. She was on a video call, and her voice carried through the vent. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. Their house just had terrible acoustics. "No, seriously, Jennifer, it's the perfect setup." Ashley's voice was animated, happy. "We don't pay for childcare at all. Mark's mom lives in the garage apartment, so she's basically on call 24/7. Free babysitting whenever we need it." My hand stilled on the knife. "Does she mind?" Another woman's voice through the computer speaker. Ashley laughed. An actual laugh. "I mean, what's she gonna do? She moved here to be close to the grandkids. And honestly, she doesn't really have anything else going on. No friends here, no hobbies. She's just kind of there, waiting to be useful." The onion I'd been holding slipped from my fingers. "That's brilliant," Jennifer said. "My mother-in-law wants to help, but she lives 3 hours away." "Oh, it gets better," Ashley continued. "She basically runs half the business stuff, too. Mark's mom started the catering company originally, so she knows all the suppliers, all the tricks. She does our books, manages inventory, handles problems. We barely have to think about the back end." "Wait, so she babysits and works for free?" "Pretty much. I mean, she has a stake in the business technically, but it's complicated. Some percentage until we pay her back the startup costs, but honestly, Mark says we can probably restructure that eventually. His mom isn't exactly business savvy with legal stuff. She just wanted to help us." My vision blurred. I pressed my palm against the counter to steady myself. "You're living the dream, Ash. Free childcare, free business help, and you get to be the boss. Right?" Ashley's voice was gleeful. "Mark feels guilty sometimes, but I keep telling him," she offered. "We didn't force her to move here. She wanted to be involved in the SAP, kids' lives. This is what grandmothers do. And honestly, at her age, what else would she be doing? We're giving her purpose." Purpose? As if I was a charity case they were kindly accommodating. "How much do you think you're saving on childcare alone?" "Oh God, easily $3,000 a month. Plus she buys the kids' stuff constantly. Clothes, toys, activities. We basically have no childcare expenses at all, and minimal kid expenses. It's insane. You're just free childcare to them." The words echoed in my head, but Ashley hadn't even said them that directly. She'd said worse. She'd reduced my love, my sacrifice, my entire existence to a convenient financial arrangement. And Mark, my son, my baby, felt guilty sometimes, but not guilty enough to stop it. I walked out of that kitchen and straight to my apartment. I didn't finish the vegetables. I didn't wait for Lucas to wake from his nap. I was done waiting, done being useful, done being invisible. I sat in my cramped apartment staring at the walls I'd painted a cheerful yellow to make the space feel less suffocating. 3 years of my life. 3 years of believing I was building something beautiful with my family, and all I'd been was a free resource to exploit. The hurt was physical. It radiated from my chest to my fingertips, making them shake. I'd given up my home, my independence, my entire life. For what? To be discussed like hired help who didn't know she wasn't getting paid? Lucas started crying through the monitor I kept on my nightstand. Ashley had given it to me. So you can hear if they need anything. Translation. So I could be on call even in my own space. I looked at it. At the video feed showing my grandson standing in his crib, tears on his little face calling, "Gamma, Gamma." My heart cracked in 2 different directions. I loved those children desperately, but their parents had weaponized that love. I turned off the monitor. Ashley was home. She could handle her own child for once. 30 seconds later, my phone buzzed. "Ashley, can you get Lucas? He's crying." I stared at the message. Then I turned my phone face down and did something I'd never done before. I ignored her. The phone rang. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again, then a text from Mark. "Mom, Ashley says you're not answering. Everything okay?" Now they cared if I was okay. Now, when I wasn't performing my duties. I pulled out my laptop and opened the folder containing all the business documents. I'd been meticulous with record keeping. Every contract, every agreement, every email. The original business formation documents showed clearly I owned 40% until repayment of my initial $200,000 investment, plus agreed upon interest. They'd paid back exactly $0. More than that, the business license, the LLC formation, even the bank accounts. I'd helped set everything up, but in my attention to detail, I'd made sure certain safeguards existed. They were in both our names. The main business account required 2 signatures for major transactions. The supplier contracts had my name on them as guarantor. They'd been so eager to have everything official, to make the business look established for loans and clients, that they'd signed whatever I'd put in front of them. They'd never imagined I'd need to protect myself from my own family. I opened my email and started a new message to Robert Chen. No, I need to use a different name. I opened my email and started a new message to Robert Martinez, the business lawyer who'd helped me set up the original company decades ago. "Robert, I need to discuss a legal matter urgently regarding the business I started for my son. I need to know what my options are for ending my involvement completely and recovering my investment." His response came within an hour. "Can you come to my office tomorrow at 10 a.m.? Bring all documentation." I confirmed the appointment. Then I opened a new document and began listing everything. Every hour of childcare, estimated at local going rates. Every business task I'd performed, valued at consultant fees. Every expense I'd covered for the children, for the house, for their convenience. The numbers were staggering. Even being conservative, they owed me over $400,000 in unpaid labor alone. But I wasn't interested in billing them for love. I just wanted out. And I wanted what was legally mine. That night, Mark knocked on my door. I didn't answer. He knocked again. "Mom, we need to talk." Mark's voice carried through the door, uncertain. I opened it but didn't invite him in. He looked uncomfortable, shifting his weight from foot to foot. "Ashley said you ignored her messages today, and you didn't watch Lucas during his nap." His tone was accusatory, like I'd shirked a shift at a job I didn't remember applying for. "I had something to take care of." "But you didn't tell anyone. We couldn't find you. Ashley was in the middle of a conference call." "Ashley was home. She's his mother. She handled it." Mark blinked, surprised by my tone. I'd never pushed back before. "Okay, but usually I drop everything to make your lives easier." "I know." I kept my voice level. "I have a meeting tomorrow morning. I'll be unavailable from 9 to noon. You'll need to arrange your own childcare." "Wait, what? Mom, we have a huge tasting tomorrow. We both need to be there." "Then I suggest you hire a babysitter." His face flushed. "We can't just hire someone last minute, and that's expensive." "Yes," I said quietly. "Childcare is expensive. Approximately $3,000 a month in this area, I believe." The color drained from his face, so he'd known exactly what they were saving, what I was worth in dollars and cents. "You heard us," he said finally. "Ashley's call yesterday." I heard enough. "Mom, look, Ashley didn't mean it like it sounded." "Don't." I held up my hand. "Don't insult me by pretending I misunderstood." I heard exactly what she meant. I'd been convenient free labor, free childcare, free business help, free everything, and you knew it. "It's not like that." "What's it like then, Mark? Tell me." I waited, but he just stood there, mouth opening and closing like a fish. "That's what I thought. I have an appointment tomorrow. I'm unavailable. Figure it out." I closed the door on my son's shocked face. The next morning, I dressed in the navy suit I'd worn to business meetings in my old life. I felt like myself for the first time in 3 years. Robert Martinez's office was downtown, 30 minutes away. I didn't leave a note. I just left. Robert was in his 70s now, but sharp as ever. He read through every document I'd brought, his expression growing increasingly grim. "Diane, I'm going to be blunt. You have significant legal standing here. You own 40% of this business. You're listed as guarantor on major contracts. The repayment terms they violated give you grounds to call the entire loan immediately due." What does that mean practically? It means you could force them to pay you $200,000 plus 3 years of agreed interest, roughly $240,000 total, immediately. And if they can't pay, which I suspect they can't, you could force a dissolution of the business and liquidation of assets. My hands trembled. They'd lose everything. They've paid you nothing while building wealth on your investment. Legally, you're entitled to this. I thought of Emma and Lucas, but then I thought of Ashley's laugh. She doesn't really have anything else going on. If you're still watching, please hit that subscribe button. You'll want to see how this ends. "What are my options?" I asked Robert. Robert leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. "You have 3 primary paths. 1. You formally demand immediate repayment of your investment with interest. 2. You dissolve your partnership and force a sale of business assets. 3. You exercise your ownership rights and take operational control." What's option 3 mean exactly? The operating agreement states that as a 40% owner and founding member, you have equal authority over major business decisions. You could legally lock them out of accounts, revoke their access to suppliers that contract with you specifically, and restructure operations. Essentially, you could take back what you built. I thought about this. Mark and Ashley had clients? Yes. But those clients came from my reputation, my recipes, my decades of relationships. The business name itself carried my legacy. Legacy Catering and Events. I'd insisted on that name, wanting them to build something lasting. They'd built it all right. On my back. If I go with option 3, how quickly could it happen? Robert smiled, and it wasn't kind. "With your authorization, I could have preliminary paperwork filed by end of business today. You'd need to act decisively, though. Change passwords, secure accounts, inform key vendors. It would be abrupt. They'd be blindsided." Yes. I thought of all the times I'd been blindsided. Every dismissive comment, every ignored boundary, every assumption that I'd just comply. The image of Ashley laughing about me to her friend played on repeat in my mind. Let's go with option 3. The next 2 hours were a blur of signing documents, making phone calls, and setting things in motion. Robert had a colleague who specialized in business disputes. Within the hour, formal notices were being prepared. By noon, I'd changed the passwords on every account I had access to, and there were many. The business email, the vendor portal, the website backend, the main banking account that required 2 signatures. I drove to the commercial kitchen they rented, the one where I'd taught Ashley every technique she knew. I had a key. I'd always had a key because I opened up twice a week to prep for large events. I walked in and began a systematic inventory. Every piece of equipment, every ingredient, every item I'd purchased with my initial investment. I photographed everything, time-stamped and documented. Then I sent an email to their 3 largest suppliers. "This is Diane Foster, founding partner of Legacy Catering. Please note that effective immediately, all contracts and credit arrangements require my personal approval. No orders should be processed without my written authorization." I copied Robert on everything. By 2 p.m., my phone was exploding. 17 missed calls from Mark, 9 from Ashley, text messages scrolling past faster than I could read them. Mark: "Mom, what are you doing?" Ashley: "You can't just lock us out of our own business." Mark: "The suppliers are saying we can't order for tomorrow's event." Ashley: "This is insane. Call us now." Mark: "Mom, please, we can talk about this." I turned off my phone and drove to the bank. The business account had $47,000 in it, payment from a large corporate event the previous week, an event I'd planned, prepped, and managed while they'd simply shown up to smile at clients. I withdrew my authorized amount, every penny I was legally entitled to as an operating partner, covering business expenses. Mark and Ashley could figure out how to run a catering company with no food, no supplies, and no money. I spent that afternoon in a hotel room downtown. I needed space, distance from their panic. My phone stayed off. Let them spiral. Let them feel the ground disappear beneath their feet like I'd felt it disappear beneath mine. But I couldn't stay away from the grandchildren forever. At 5 p.m., I turned my phone back on. 63 missed calls, 42 text messages, 3 voicemails from Mark that progressed from angry to desperate to something close to tears. There was also a message from Emma's school. "Miss Foster, Emma wasn't picked up at dismissal. We've been trying to reach her parents for over an hour. Please call us back immediately." My heart stopped. Those children were innocent in all this. I called the school back instantly. "This is Diane Foster. I'm on my way right now." I arrived to find Emma sitting in the office with a teacher, trying not to cry. "Grandma, Mommy and Daddy forgot me." They hadn't forgotten. They'd been too busy dealing with the implosion of their business to remember their own daughter. I signed her out, buckled her into my car, and drove to their house. Lucas was with a neighbor. Ashley had apparently banged on doors begging for emergency childcare that morning. I collected Lucas, too. The neighbor, a woman named Patricia, gave me a knowing look. "Everything all right, Diane?" "It will be." Inside Mark and Ashley's house was chaos. Papers everywhere. Ashley on her laptop, frantically typing. Mark on the phone, nearly shouting at someone. They both froze when I walked in with the children. "Where were you?" Ashley's voice was shrill. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Mommy, you forgot me at school," Emma said in a small voice. Ashley's face crumpled for just a moment before hardening again. "Go to your room, Emma. Grandma and I need to talk." "No," I said firmly. "You need to take care of your children. I'm not here to babysit." "You can't just destroy our business." Mark was shaking. "Mom, this is insane. Whatever Ashley said, whatever you think you heard..." I heard the truth. Finally. I set my purse down. I heard that I'm just a convenient resource, free labor with no other purpose in life, someone to exploit while you build wealth and take vacations. That's not fair. What's not fair is that I've given you 3 years of my life and you've given me nothing but contempt. Did you know you owe me for childcare alone? At going rates, roughly $108,000. That's not counting business consulting, bookkeeping, or the fact that you've never paid back a single dollar of my $200,000 investment. Ashley laughed, but it was edged with hysteria. "You can't bill us for being a grandmother. That's not how family works." "You're absolutely right. Family shouldn't work that way. Family should be based on love and respect, but you turned it into a transaction. So now we're having a transaction." "We have an event tomorrow." Mark's voice cracked. "A corporate client, 50 people, they've paid a deposit. We can't access our accounts. We can't order supplies. We can't..." "You should have thought of that before you decided I was disposable." The silence was deafening. "What do you want?" Ashley's voice was flat now, defeated. "Money? Fine, we'll pay you back." "With what money?" "I have your bank account information, remember? I do your books. You have $47,000 in business accounts, most of which you owe to upcoming vendor payments. You have $23,000 in personal savings. You finance both your cars. Your house has a mortgage. Where exactly is this payment coming from?" Mark sank onto the couch, head in his hands. "So, what? You're just going to destroy everything? Everything we built?" "Everything I built," I corrected quietly. "I created those recipes. I cultivated those supplier relationships over 40 years. I brought the clients through my reputation. You just wore nice clothes and smiled." "That's not true." Ashley stood up, fists clenched. "We worked hard. We grew this business. With my foundation, with my knowledge, with my free labor." I pulled out my phone and opened my notes. I tracked my hours for the past month alone. 173 hours. Childcare, business work, housework for your family. That's more than a full-time job, for zero pay and zero appreciation. So this is revenge. Mark's voice was hollow. You're punishing us. No, I'm recovering what's mine and removing myself from a toxic situation. There's a difference. The door burst open. Ashley's mother, Cheryl, stormed in with a face like thunder. What is happening? Ashley called me crying about some insane... She stopped when she saw me. Diane, what did you do? I stopped working for free. They're family. You don't charge family. You're right. Family shouldn't charge family. Family also shouldn't exploit family. But here we are. Cheryl turned to Ashley. Can't you just apologize? Work this out? Ashley's jaw tightened. I'm not apologizing for stating facts. She did offer to help with childcare. She did choose to move here. Oh, stop. Mark's voice cut through. Just stop, Ashley. He looked at me with something that might have been recognition finally breaking through. She's right. We took advantage. I took advantage of my own mother. Mark, Ashley started. No, I heard what you said to Jennifer. I was in the room. I heard you laugh about how we don't pay for anything, how Mom just exists to be useful. And I didn't say anything because it was convenient for me, too. His voice broke. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. The apology hung in the air. Part of me wanted to accept it, to fold him into my arms like I'd done his whole life. But apologies didn't erase 3 years of systematic disrespect. I appreciate that, Mark, I do. But words aren't enough anymore. What do you want from us? Ashley demanded. I pulled out the papers Robert had prepared. I want formal dissolution of my partnership, my investment returned with interest within 90 days, and all my personal property removed from the business. I'll provide transition consultation for 60 days at $150 per hour, the going rate for catering consultants. After that, you're on your own. That will bankrupt us. Ashley's face was white. Then you'll learn what it's like to start from nothing, like I did, 40 years ago. The legal proceedings took 8 days. 8 days where Mark and Ashley scrambled to save what they could. They had to cancel 3 events, losing deposits and reputation. Their corporate client threatened to sue for breach of contract. 2 of their staff, members, quit when paychecks bounced. Robert pushed the paperwork through faster than I'd thought possible. By the end of the week, Legacy Catering and Events ceased to exist. The business dissolved, assets liquidated. Mark and Ashley kept the client list and the company name. I didn't want them anyway, but they had to start completely from scratch, borrowing money from Ashley's parents to cover their basic startup costs again. They couldn't repay me the full amount immediately. We structured a payment plan, $2,000 monthly for the next 10 years. Robert assured me it was enforceable and realistic given their income potential. It wasn't the full value of what they'd taken from me, but it was acknowledgement. Legal, binding acknowledgement. I moved to a small condo in Mount Pleasant, 20 minutes away. Far enough for boundaries, close enough to still see Emma and Lucas. Because despite everything, I loved those children. The first month was hard. Emma cried and asked why Grandma didn't live with them anymore. I explained gently that sometimes adults need their own space, but I'd always be her grandmother, always love her. Mark brought the kids to visit every Sunday. He was different now, quieter, more thoughtful. He'd apologized 17 more times in various ways. I accepted each one, but kept my boundaries firm. We were rebuilding slowly, carefully. Ashley didn't come to those visits. We'd had one final conversation where she'd said, through tears, I never meant to make you feel used. But intentions don't erase impact. We were civil now, polite. Nothing more. The business they rebuilt was smaller, scrappier. They did most of the work themselves now, learning what actual effort felt like. I heard through Mark that they'd had to sell one of their cars to make payments. Their house went up for sale. They were downsizing. Good. Let them understand what sacrifice means. 6 months after I left, my sister visited from Phoenix. We sat on my condo balcony watching the sunset, and she squeezed my hand. You look different. Lighter. I was lighter. I'd started painting again, something I'd abandoned years ago. I'd joined a book club, made friends who knew me as Diane, not as someone's mother or grandmother or free employee. I existed as myself again. Mark's check arrived like clockwork every month, $2,000, a reminder that my worth had value, that my time meant something, that I wasn't just a resource to be drained dry. I saw Emma and Lucas regularly now, on my terms during scheduled visits where I was grandma, not unpaid childcare. I took them for ice cream, to the park, to the aquarium. I loved them fiercely. But when the visits ended, I went home to my own space, my own life, my own peace, and I'd never felt more free.